Ooh. All right. Good morning. Welcome in. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Want to thank you for going to Spotify, searching Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. That's where our podcast is, Spotify. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Chris Hopwood on Friday, the director of the sports book for the Timeout Lounge, Golden Moon Casino. Chris Hopwood was great. Last segment of the show on Friday, 9:30. He told stories of living in Vegas for 17 years. And I thought they were great. Jason, did you enjoy that?
It's so funny whenever you always hear crazy stories about people betting a little, winning a ton. And you never think it actually happens.
Right.
So him talking about, well, the main one that caught my eye was a guy going up with $100,000 betting on a boxing fight.
Cash.
In a, what did he say, a Starbucks bag?
Yeah.
like that's,
you know
like,
what? That's just a Monday in Vegas.
That's like movie stuff.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that you say that's a regularity. Just people walking in, yeah, let me get $80,000 on Canelo. Or let me go 150 on the Kansas City Chiefs, which, can you imagine? But,
ooh.
And now the Chiefs, third game in a row, not being favored. You think Mahomes is going to burst out of his own skin or what?
No, I don't. I think, look, man, the Chiefs have found the recipe for success. Yeah. You know who we're not talking about? Steve Spagnuolo. Because it's cool to talk Mahomes and Kelsey and Taylor Swift, right? And what's his name? Pacheco?
Yeah. That guy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, that's fun, and I get it. But Steve Spagnuolo is the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Chris Jones. They're the MVP.
Yeah.
Okay. Spagnuolo was the architect behind the 2007 Giants winning. And obviously, they were defense-driven, Spagnuolo-driven in 2007 when they won the Super Bowl. He's won 2 there. They have had some unbelievable defensive performances in the playoffs. It's not all Mahomes throwing for 400 and 4 TDs during all these runs. Is Mahomes unbelievable? Yes. Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense were amazing against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. After Lamar and the Ravens scored, they shut him down for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay, for a big chunk of the game. They were frustrated. Now, do I understand why they dropped back 82% of the time with Lamar? I don't. But these guys know more than I do. Okay? I wouldn't have. Did I think Detroit went away a little bit from smash mouth football? But granted, you can't drop when you're in the you can do, high school drop passes, college drop passes all the time, right? In the NFL, when they throw it in your hands, I mean, right there, you got to catch it.
Yes.
Dan Campbell and the Lions, Goff, I thought he delivered a couple of times when his dudes let him down. Even Laporta, who's phenomenal. I like him. Okay,
huge.
I love him. I think all these guys are amazing. They're all going 100 miles per hour on the field with the best athletes. It's so much higher level of a game than college, obviously. But I don't know if all of our college football fans really wrap our brain around the speed and the elite athletes that you have on an NFL field. But let me back up here because we were talking about something else. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, brought to you by the PK Grills at FS1 Concepts in Pearl. Now, they sell commercial grade restaurant equipment to restaurants and hotels and businesses. They're locally owned. All right. FS1 Concepts in Pearl. It's over there by Puckett. But they've got a showroom of unbelievable barware and kitchenware and PK Grills. You need one for the Super Bowl and March Madness. PK Grills, FS1 Concepts in Pearl. I've got Jason with me. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. I guess I'm going to have to, let's go back to where we were. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I'm going to have to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, I think you would start a riot if you didn't. Who's going for the Chiefs?
I think there's a lot of people.
I mean, maybe, in the area, in Missouri, but is there really like a giant Chiefs fan base nationwide? Real fans, not just like jump on, oh, now we're going to be Bengals fans when they're in the Super Bowl. Now we're going to be Rams fans since they won. Like real fans outside of Missouri, maybe some Kansas. Who's going for the Chiefs?
Swifties.
Ooh,
that's a big group.
That's a good point.
I think they'll have the female audience because of Taylor Swift and Kelsey.
Yeah, I could. And Miranda said herself, she was like, as much as I don't like Taylor Swift, it is good that women are starting to watch football, no matter the reason.
Women had already started watching football. It was the ones. So, like I've talked about on this show, and when you walk into Vaught Hemingway or Davis Wade Stadium, 50% of the fan base in there is women.
Oh, yeah.
When you go to Saints games, and we've been to several over the years, at least 50% of the Caesars Superdome is women. When we started, it was single digits, under 5% female audience. Today, we've actually got a quantitative profile from a couple of years ago that's higher than this, but we're 25% female, okay? And so they're already watching, and they're watching at a level where they're not uneducated fans.
Yeah,
They understand first down. You get 4 downs to get a first down. They understand punting. I mean, they're smarter than us the overwhelming majority of the time when it comes to being able to actually discuss sports. Because when guys meet up in the afternoons, we're dumber than dumb.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I mean, our IQ just, gone.
Happy hour coaching.
Yes.
It's the best.
Happy hour coaching is 0.056 IQ. Is that good?
Yeah. No, that's pretty solid.
And that may be high. But the bottom line is it's going to be Las Vegas, the Swifties and Taylor Swift. The 49ers are a massive fan base, Jason. They're in a major metropolitan. So Kansas City's a flyover state, okay? Even though in the NFL, you can be Kansas City, New Orleans, and Green Bay and be huge, right? Because the NFL is top 50 shows every year are NFL games. But don't sleep on the fact, Jason, that San Francisco is a massive market. Not that the Super Bowl needs this to grab a huge share. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But their fan base, it is, I don't know how many people are in the massive Bay Area, 6-7 million. And all the people that have moved out there, but out of there, but live in different places over the years because of jobs and stuff. It's big. And the 49ers already have Super Bowls, and they haven't won one since George Seifert and Steve Young in the 90s, before you were born. But that was a fun team, man. They went and smoked the San Diego Chargers. So I'm going to go with the 49ers. Not because of Brock Purdy. I do like Shanahan, though.
Yeah.
I think he's cool. He's brilliant. He's the best coach without a in fact, we asked Steve Palazzolo, I was like, who would you hire right now? He was like, Shanahan. And he doesn't have a Super Bowl. Reed does. Harbaugh does. Sean Payton does. Belichick's not employed right now, but you know where I'm going.
Right.
So, going to be a tough task. Well, obviously.
Yeah.
But Vegas is going to be wild next week.
I was thinking about that. What kind of celebration after whoever wins goes down when you win in Vegas?
Man, when you win in Vegas. So they'll stay the night, and then we see them get on the plane the next morning, regardless of where they are. I still remember the article written about Sean Payton in Miami and how hungover he was, and the fact that the the article is amazing. I wish I could remember. I think it was ESPN.com, but reading after the Saints beat the Colts, and Sean Payton and everybody partied all night, and it is mandatory that you have to do the NFL press conference the next morning, the head coach and the MVP. And it talked about how the New Orleans Saints, I don't know what they call him, the media relations guy, which is a big job.
Yeah. Oh,
the head guy, the number one guy, had to bang on Sean's door to get him up. He was so hungover. Right?
Come on. That's perfect.
I know. And that's Sean, especially 15 years ago,
Right.
When he was right around 43 years old, I think, when he won it. maybe 45, but still. And they went hard that night. So Shanahan will be able to do it because he's young. Reed, he'll probably go through the post-game party, have a beverage, and he's going to sleep. But, yeah, partying at the top of the Bellagio or the Venetian or wherever you want to go is going to be even better than winning it in Miami or New Orleans or SoFi in L.A.
You got to feel like the king of the world.
Yeah.
You're on the top, priceless bottle of champagne, popping it in a penthouse. That's got to be insane.
Look, I'm just a Mississippi kid. And when you go to Vegas, there's something in the air. I mean, it's crazy. And you get around that energy and that vibe. We're far from a bigwig, but can you imagine the party that will be thrown and planned for both teams, depending on what happens?
Oh, I can't. And once they announced the Super Bowl, people were already, first thing they were posting, this is Taylor Swift's last concert, and this is how much time she has to get to the Super Bowl. It's already about her. Man, can we talk about how there's a guy that looks like an accountant throwing footballs in the
Brock
Super Bowl?
Purdy?
Yes.
Yeah, Brock is, what does Brock look like? Pharmaceutical rep?
No doubt. Or he sells like medical equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a
good dude, really good career.
You're friends with his parents, so you know them well. Yeah.
Coaches Little League or whatever they call it now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Travel ball. He was,
maybe a little dabbles in some travel ball. Yeah, I think Brock Purdy is, or he's a junior associate at a mid-sized law firm.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
Or pre-law. Like he's grad school, he's still graduate because he doesn't look old.
No.
I mean, he looks
like he left Iowa State last week.
Yeah. Iowa State high school.
Yeah.
And that guy, he doesn't shave. Doesn't need to.
Nah, he's not. He doesn't have a lot of whiskers.
Maybe that's the superpower. Maybe he's like Benjamin Button throwing the football. He just keeps getting younger, keeps getting better.
He's a nice player, but when the moment was on the line last night, he used his mobility.
Mm-hmm.
See, he doesn't look athletic,
No.
or we don't think he is. Now we do this again. And yet he was able to run around just as effective as a Lamar Jackson. At one point he had, 51 yards. I can't remember what did Greg Olson say? I didn't have that on my scratch pad.
yeah.
51 yards of rushing for Brock Purdy, which is a lot, by
Pretty
the way,
insane.
in the NFL.
Yeah.
I know in college football and high school football for a quarterback, that's not a lot. But in the NFL, that is burning and churning yards. Let's switch gears. Go local here. The Out of Bounds Show brought to you by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck. RPT Commercial in Pearl. Fleet Vehicles. Where do you want to take them? Where do you want to take your fleet trucks and SUVs? RPT Commercial in Pearl. Rick's Pro Truck.com. Let's talk a little Cam Matthews. At Mississippi State beat a top 10 team again on Saturday. That's 2 in less than a month. Both of these teams could win the national championship. In Tennessee with Connect, who's, I think, the best offensive player I've watched live in the last several years, outside maybe of the Final Four that I went to in New Orleans a couple years ago that had Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, and Nova, and there were some really, 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 really good players, high-level, refined players. Auburn has a national championship roster, and Bama, I think they do too. Also, this means that none of them could make the Final Four. But if you look at Estrada and Sears at Bama, you look at Ziegler and Connect at Tennessee, and then you look at Auburn and they're 10 deep and they're insane on the perimeter and down low, and they can foul as much as they want, and it doesn't matter because of the depth on the team, right? That is a big win where Cam Matthews, we talked about this last week. Who did I name, Jason? I named 2 guys who needed to step up. Cam Matthews and DJ Jeffries. and they both did.
Yeah, last week
Against a team that on paper has more talent than them.
it's got more talent than anybody.
I think they do. I think I think they're the most talented team in the conference, and that's saying something with Tennessee, Bama, and Kentucky. All right. And at times we may be splitting hairs, and that's what we do as people who love to discuss sports. But Cam Matthews, 14 and 11, and DJ Jeffries, 12 rebounds.
Wow.
23 rebounds between the two. They owned the glass. And then, of course, Tolu had 8. That's 32 rebounds between 3 people in college basketball. I want you to think about that. And then you mix in the fact that Josh Hubbard has ice water in his veins.
Mm-hmm.
Hub has the ability. He's so strong and athletic and gifted with the basketball that he has the ability to get his shot off. Now, I thought that they did a really good job moving the ball at times on the offensive end because Auburn's so long and so athletic. And Tolu's trying to find his game. He did make a clutch basket late in the game. Not taking anything away from him. He's still one of the most talented guys in the conference. But Matthews has to be the guy if they're going to double team, which you saw what Auburn was doing, swinging a guy over, especially underneath the basket, as soon as Tolu got the ball down in the deep post, right? Mm-hmm. He also had the ability, I thought, on Saturday to kick it back out a little bit better than he had before, which is something he's got to do. Matthews, 14 and 11. Jans wanted a street fight. He and he's right. He couldn't beat them 94-92. If you get in a track,
no
or even probably Auburn pulls away, let's just say 94-84. Okay. Jans knew he couldn't do that. I can't get in a track meet with all these thoroughbreds and they're 10 deep. And especially if multiple guys get in foul trouble, which doesn't affect Auburn really, but does impact us because we're thinner now without Murphy and the whatever his name, the Marshall dude. But I was impressed, and God bless them. They can't shoot free throws, but they can do some other things like wipe the glass with 33 rebounds for 3 dudes, and Josh Hubbard, hitting basket after basket. But I thought that one on the inbounds play with 1:38 left, Jason, was something that you don't see in college basketball often. Do you see it in the NBA? Yes. But to take it full speed running and catch the ball, and you're going away from the basket and square up, and the dude's all over you, and he fouled you, he didn't get called, that's fine, and drill that shot, that's big time. What did Jan say afterwards? I thought that was funny. He said he looked at me like he scored. It was over on the Mississippi State bench side.
Right.
He looked at Jans. Jans in the postgame was like, he looked at me like he scored on me. He's like, and what did Jan say? He was like, I'm with you.
Just ice cold.
Ice cold. You're not going to do that every night. Period. I don't care if, obviously Josh is a freshman. He's going to have some good nights and some tough nights, but that's anybody. Auburn had several prolific scorers that had rough games because DJ and Cam and Tolu were really physical on their players. Josh Hubbard started. First time to start. About time. I like Davis. He's a fringe Power 5 player at that level. Playing Davis and Shaq Moore at the same time, to me, is a pretty big disadvantage. So I thought Chris Jans, we got Jans and Beard, and they're so good, but he pushed all the right buttons. Basically, it's a team that is filthy and loaded. And some of their players who don't start would start at some of the teams, including in this state, that are good basketball teams.
Yeah.
I want you to think about that. There's a couple, it's not a lot, but there's a couple of teams that have guys who aren't even starting who would start. Now, Hub would just started starting, and he would start on some teams. But that was a freshman thing, get him worked in. I thought Jans waited too long, but what do I know? The bottom line is Josh was fantastic against an Auburn team that is so long on the perimeter it can disrupt. And they were physical with him, but he dropped 17 on them, which against an Auburn team in 29 minutes. Again, Hub's not playing 38 minutes a game.
Yeah.
I want you to think about that. He dropped 25 on Tennessee. Played under 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy, and you brought it up last week, you said all the big two need is just a little help.
Right.
And Cam Matthews did more than a little help, and you see what happens. I mean,
Right.
DJ Jeffries too, and we talked about how the game against Florida was all about second chances. Second chance shots for Florida, defensive rebounds.
Absolutely.
A complete flip.
Yeah.
I mean, and you said, this is the second time they've beaten one of the best teams in the SEC or the country.
Yeah. Two of the best teams in the country are Tennessee and Auburn. Ole Miss goes on the road at college. That was a crazy game.
Yes.
That was a bipolar game. I mean, the swings. I know there were lead changes and ties in the Auburn-Mississippi State game, and that's what keeps us on the edge of our seat and coming back to watching sports. That's why live sports are so amazing and beautiful and amazing, right? Wonderful. We all loved playing sports when we were young and still do. I mean, heck, your church league basketball career is taking off. But the point is, real quick, is that Ole Miss found the mettle and the toughness on the road against an A&M team that's pretty good. They got players. Buzz Williams, a hell of a coach at Virginia Tech and at A&M. And this sets up for tomorrow night after Ole Miss, the ebb and flow and coming back and A&M tying it, hitting the three with 21.2 seconds left and holding on and all that. And some of the defensive possessions late. It just shows you that Morrell and Flanagan and your guy from the Bronx, Murray.
Yeah.
And Brakefield, they're getting better too. So tomorrow I think will be a fist fight. And it's in the Pavilion. And I expect it to be a close game.
I mean, I really think, and if I could just say one thing about Beard, I was getting scared that this first season, not his career as coach at Ole Miss, but this first season was going to look a lot like a Kermit Davis season. Like a lot like you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and then you lose to teams that are okay, good, or better. That's what I was worried about. And finally, there was a signature win, a road Q1 win.
Right.
That is like, okay, well, maybe this team has a little juice. Maybe something can happen there.
Oh, I think the team has some juice. Again, we've got 6 more weeks till we get to Nashville. So there's a lot of ball to be played. But tomorrow night will be a lot of fun. Could be an epic one. We've had some over the years. And I can't wait for it to are you going to the Pavilion?
I'm thinking about going tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm thinking about going to the game.
Do you have your North Face pullover?
I'll put it on in my Vineyard Vines.
And your what'd you say? On shoes?
Yeah, on clouds, yeah.
On clouds. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, you'll be ready.
No
Powder
doubt.
blue?
Yeah, I'll go powder blue.
Pants and shirt?
Might go khakis in the powder blue.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah. Maybe some Cole Haans.
Oh, that'd look
just for you.
Yeah. Awesome. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're driven by your next Ford F-150 truck. Mac Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. That's where you go to get your next pre-owned or new Ford F-150 truck. Mac Hike Ford.